Hey there friends, how's it going today? David Potts here with Song Notes, and a quick lesson today where I want to take Leonard Cohen's song Hallelujah, show you how to play the melody and the chords at the same time. And this is going to be an open position arrangement in the key of C, right? Open position meaning just the first 3 or 4 frets. So no real bar chords. Even though I do use an F, I'm never going to be doing this full barred F. I'm going to be using some shortcuts. I'll talk about that in my practice notes here. And speaking of practice notes, I have some written up notes if you want to follow along with this. It teaches you, number one, where these notes are coming from, right? The C major scale. That's where all the notes and all the chords in this key are based out of, right? So showing you those notes as a little bit of an inventory. I'll show you the tabs for everything. The highlights are the melody notes. All the other notes that are written up in the tabs are optional chords that you can strum for the most part just to fill things out. And I'll also include a few things about strumming and tempo if you do want to get strummy with things. Now, a couple quick notes. I do want to say I've taught Hallelujah in a separate lesson. So if you're looking to just learn how to strum and sing this song with just the chords, check out lesson 11. That's over on my Song Notes website. I'll link to it in the description of this YouTube video. And if you're watching it on my website, just scroll down on whatever page you're on and you'll see a link to that Hallelujah lesson, right? But get my practice notes. You might also want to get my key of C guide. It shows you in many different handmade pages that I put together, the C major pentatonic, all the scales you're going to use in the key of C, all the chords that are using that key also. And I share this with you to plug my own website and the hard work I put into it, but also because all the stuff in this lesson is coming out of this key. And when you understand a musical key like this, it makes learning something like this way easier, right? I was putting this together as I'm on the couch earlier this week playing this song, and I just kind of wanted to find the melody in the chords, in the chord progression that I already knew. And because I've practiced the C major scale enough, I was able to put that together. So I'm going to share it with you here. Let's get into it and have some fun, all right? Thanks for my little prelude there. I like to talk a little bit before I get into it. But let's zoom on in. So this is 5 lines total. We're going to start with this first line here. What you're seeing on the screen, it's 4 full measures, right? We're in 6/8 time. 6/8 times means that there's basically 6 counts per measure. You can think of it that way. The first little tip I want to give you here, right? You see the melody notes, but instead of just playing those, blindly like that, what I really recommend doing, the first real tip I have here, is to put your fretting hand into the chord shapes that are sort of written under my tabs here. This is going to make things easier, right? Because it's sort of setting your hands up to play these notes in a way where a lot of the notes are just going to come naturally based on your hand position if you're fretting them like this. Okay, so that's my first tip, is don't just play the notes individually. Okay, instead, think in terms of chords. And the other tip I have is when you're doing this sort of thing with melody, I would recommend you bring your voice into it. Even if you're by yourself, no one's got to hear this, but just do a single strum of each chord and try to hum the melody first, right? I'm assuming you know Hallelujah. I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord. Doing that little bit of humming is going to help attune your ear with your voice and your mind and your fingers, all working together here, right? The more of these senses we can bring in, the better, okay? So let's get to the actual notes we're going to be playing here. Now, the first note we're going to play is the 2nd fret of the 4th string. This is a note that's in the C major chord, okay? So put your hand into C major and just pluck that 4th string. That's I've heard. And we're going to do a little strum of the C, but we're not going to strum past the 3rd string, right? That open G string, that's the note that's used throughout the first of this first line for the most part. We want to strum strings 5, 4, and 3, right? And just notice how all those melody notes in the 1st and 3rd measure are coming from the C major chord. So your hand's in the C major chord. And then we're going to switch to that A minor, which is just a 1-finger switch. And here, the same thing. Notice how all of the notes in the A minor measures are coming from the A minor chord. This is what I'm talking about. Put your hands in these chord shapes, and you're doing the work for yourself, all right? And then measures 3 and 4, the same thing. Okay, now this last note is an open 3rd string. We're going to take our ring finger off the A minor, and then we are going to go to line 2. So line 1, right? I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and it pleased the Lord, but... A couple of notes really quick. There's a lot of versions of this song. Leonard Cohen, Jeff Buckley, I forget the other ones, but the melody that I've written up is my own interpretation of it in some ways. I'm kind of rounding corners, taking this version of Leonard Cohen singing it or Jeff Buckley or whatever, not all melodies are sung the exact same way as far as how they're phrased. So you might quibble over how I've written it up. You can do that. That's fine. This is how I put it together for a nice sort of consistent arrangement. All right. But there is a bit of wiggle room. Also, if you took the simplest possible version, I've heard there was a secret chord that David played and I'm Kermit the Frog. That's just 2 notes. That's not really interesting. So what we want to do is add a bit of contour to this. I've heard there was a secret chord. You can get even more contour if you want. Anyway, let's move on to line 2 there, right? Things are going to get tricky here, but fear not, because this is about the trickiest it gets. So first we had this F, right? If we just did, let me do a quick single strum playthrough. But you don't really care for music, do you? Okay, that's the chords. F and to G and to C and G. Now, about the F. Okay, page 2 of my practice notes, I talk about this. The 6-string version, I'm never using it in this melody exercise I'm doing here. I have a bunch of these little mini Fs, and these are in my F cheat sheet that I have. I'll link out to that as well. If you need help with the F chord, I show a bunch of alternative ways to play it, and I have pictures and tabs and chord shapes diagrams for all of them, right? Simplest way is just this. Right, strings 4, 3, and 2. You also can use this 4-string version, strings 5, 4, 3, and 2. I love this one because it's so similar to a C. And I use this in place of an F probably 80% of the time, okay? And then also, if you want, you can wrap your thumb and get that low E string 1st fret, and then that little 3-string baby F on the strings 4, 3, and 2. So any of these will work. You don't need to do the full bar. So let's go back to line 2 here. We're looking at, see how I show that the 1st fret on the low E string is optional? If you're gonna play it, I would wrap your thumb and play it. But if you're not gonna play it, that's fine. Ignore it and just play frets 3, 3, and 2. Okay, that's all you need for your F. You can do this one, right? You don't really... Now we're gonna go to this G. And this G is gonna be tricky because we're gonna do something a little bit different here. We're gonna keep our middle finger on this 3rd string note, 2nd fret, and we're gonna move our ring to the 3rd fret of the low E string. So this first thing we're gonna strum is 3rd fret, muted, open, 2nd. The melody, we're gonna take our middle finger off and then put our pinky on the 3rd fret of the 4th string. Now this is the part I mess up the most on when I'm playing this whole thing. But you don't really care for music. It's easy to sort of miss that note. But then we go to a C, do ya? And then the last measure is a G. You don't have to play it, but it's a nice one to just do some filler picking. Okay, whatever you use to sound good. So let me do lines 1 and 2 just to see where we stand. Okay, so that's line 2. Again, measures 1 and 2 of that are going to be the trickiest part. Take it as much as you need to with practice. Okay, so line 3 is coming up next. This one has a really nice swell where the melody is going up in pitch as we sort of move along. So we're going to start off with C, F, G, A minor, F, and we end with that open 3rd string, right? Let me just keep going to line 4 because this is a nice continuation. G with the pinky, E. Okay, now before we get to the last line, let's talk about what we just did there. So line 3 starts kind of this really simple, just C. We're going to go to this 4th and 5th, right? He's saying it in the lyrics. 4th and 5th are in the key of C, it's the F chord and the G chord, right? C is our 1 chord. F and G are the 4 and the 5 chords. So we're going from this, goes like this, the 4th, the 5th. And we have a minor fall too, to the A minor. Now when we play the melody there, it's all going to be on the 3rd string at first, right? Same F I taught you earlier. And then we're going to go to a G with the open 2nd string as our melody note. Play that open 3rd string and then an A minor. And then this F, we want to do strings 4, 3, and 2. And the reason why is we want our pinky free to play that 3rd fret note. Open 3rd string to reset. And then for this G, what we're gonna do is put our pinky back down on that 3rd fret, take it off, and our index finger is gonna play that 1st fret note, right? And then we go to an E. Now this chord does not belong in the key of C, but it is used sometimes. It's what's called a secondary dominant, and it's gonna add a nice bit of tension. And then we, with our pinky on that 3rd fret note, go back to an A minor. Okay, that part's tricky as well, because you kind of have to come into it with an A sus4. But then we just play those 2 notes and we're good. Then we set up ourselves for the finale, okay? So let me play lines 3 and 4 for you. It goes like this, the 4th, the 5th, the minor fall, the major left. A little bit of flourish there, never hurt anybody. When you're in A minor, 4th string, 2nd fret, open 3rd string, and then the F we know and love. Right, 2nd fret to open on the 3rd string. Just the thickest 2 strings of an A minor. And in these gaps here, you can do filler picks. Okay, now that C and that G part there, what we're doing is we're kind of going from the... We're using our pinky on the 3rd fret notes on the 4th string for the C and on the 5th string for the G. And then we end with a C, and you can do a nice walk, which mimics Leonard Cohen's arrangement. And then we end it with G. All right, y'all, so that's each section. Let me play it out for you here, and I'm gonna play this over a backing track that I put together. This is a 5-minute track, and it just has a bass, drums, a little bit of soulful organ, and it goes through the chord progression over and over. It counts in for 2 measures first. I've gotten a lot of feedback about that from y'all, thank you. And you can play over it with all this. So you can get this over on my website, songnotes.net, in addition to my practice notes, in addition to all the other resources that I mentioned will be helpful for this lesson. And check out my Hallelujah lesson if you want to learn to strum and sing it as well. So let's have some fun with this one, and here's how it sounds when you put it all together. Thanks for watching, y'all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.